CP.
Are you serious? He's gone. 30, Portis all the way. Touchdown Redskins, 64 yards.
26 minutes.
He's pretty sharp, you know. He'll coach you up on the Miami guys and everything else. He's kind of fun to be around. Got an opinion too.
You know, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to go out and be myself and say the things that I say, and you know, for the outside world, they can deal with it how they deal with it.
26 minutes with Clinton Portis. CP. Teach him something.
I can teach you that obviously nothing has changed. I still say what I want to say, and I'm going to continue to do this. Welcome to episode 10 of 26 Minutes. I'm back. All right? I'm back. The crew held it down while I was gone, so I got to give them their credit. They did a great job. I was in Europe just touring my life away, and I check in. I see Jake and Monica has taken over the show, so I'm not sure how much longer this is going to be my show, but just since I'm the host today, hello, guys. How are you all?
Welcome back.
We missed you, yeah.
Hey, I'm glad. You all did a great job without me.
Thanks. All right, so now we were speculating about what you were doing in Europe. You were in, tell people where you were. People want to know. They missed you.
So I went to London, I went to Stockholm, Sweden, I went to Denmark, and I went to Frankfurt. And it was like no sleep. I haven't been to sleep in 10 days, really, because the time was 6 hours ahead. Then I fly back, and it was Howard Homecoming, and Edrin had come to town. So he's a vampire. He refuses to sleep. So I'm just running on lemonade and Chick-fil-A right now. But it was a great time. You know, the shopping was great. I went over for business, and I think I secured the bag.
Okay.
See, that's what we're saying. He's
Secured
out there
the
trying to make
bag.
some money.
That was first.
That's necessary.
You know, then we went shopping in Denmark. Food was great. The beer was great. I'm not even a huge beer drinker. We just was like, yeah, give us whatever your beer is. It had some pretty good beer. The beef was outstanding, so it was a cool time.
Did they still have the Bud Light and all that stuff available, or was it strictly?
Listen, it was so cold. So we was doing the experience. So this is what we did in Denmark. We just got the experience. So everyone was sitting outside on the water, and it was freezing. Like the wind was really blowing, and we didn't have the proper gear, first off. But they give you like cover to sit out. And so we're trying to sit out and eat, and glasses and plates are blowing by us. Like that's how hard the wind was blowing. And we're trying to get the experience to say we did it sitting on the waterfront. But it was so cold. We didn't even look at a menu. It was just the simple things. Let me get the steak, medium well, with some French fries and a beer.
You ate outside in the cold?
Everyone else was doing
So it was a picnic, essentially.
You experienced that, it sounds like in the spring, not in the winter.
No, but that's what they do over there.
Okay.
Like every bar you pass, like every restaurant you pass, people were sitting outside. If you go inside, no one was inside. It was like everyone sit outside. I guess it's a thing they do over there, but I've done it once. I won't do it again.
There you go. Checked it off your list. Oh, we have these lovely tops. You brought gifts back, sort of, kind of. Look at our gear. Are you selling
Yeah,
these?
we
this
just
is awesome.
finally got some 26
Look at our
minutes
gear.
I get tired of Jake outdressing me on this show, and you know, you always end up with a blouse on and your microphone isn't working.
You
And
always
Kelly
looking out for
comes
me.
in with another team color on every week.
That's-
Whoever we're playing this week, I'm sure she's wearing black
she
and
has on?
red or gray and black. I'm sure. I'm almost positive, but you know, just something to wear.
All right, well,
Appreciate it.
while you were away, we've got a streak going. We literally talked about this
Yes.
on the couch 2 weeks ago. Kelly and I were like, could this be the one? And you were like, they got to beat the Cowboys first.
By the way, in our Ask CP segment, there was a lot of personal questions about you
couldn't
that we
answer.
tried to answer in your voice, but it was really difficult.
Well, we can give them another round today. I know we're getting so many questions. All of a sudden, everyone wants to talk. That's a good thing.
You
Obviously,
poppin'.
you all are doing good, and Kelly's doing a great job at finding these.
One of
questions.
them was, who was the running back that you
Your
looked
role
up to
model,
most?
yep.
I said Barry Sanders was up there.
It was actually Dalton Hilliard. I'm a Saints fan, so
Mm-hmm.
Dalton Hilliard was my favorite running back. Although I loved Barry Sanders and Bo Jackson,
Yeah.
Dalton Hilliard was my favorite running back, and Robert Smith was really influential. The running back from the Minnesota Vikings. As you know, Robert Smith wore 26 as well.
Check that out.
There it is.
Check
Yeah.
that out. All right, well, speaking of current day 26s and the success, 3-game win streak, 5-2, top of the division, 2-0. What's your whole takeaway, CP? Like, you were in this locker room, in this space. Everybody keeps talking about the last time this team was 5-2 was under your boy Zorn. And
Well,
then it's Louis.
it's not my boy. It's,
It is your
it's
boy. It's
definitely
your
not
boy's
my
on.
boy. It's not someone I care to talk about on this show. But the last time this team was in this position, the coach lost the locker room. Whereas this time in this position, I think the coach is gaining the locker room. It's gaining momentum. It's gaining traction. You have a running back that's playing great and AP carrying the offense that's not up to speed, that hasn't really clicked yet due to not having everyone. You don't have Crowder. You don't have Jordan Reed on the field. You don't have CT. So you're
Jordan
missing
Reed's been on the
Dotson.
field. Jordan Reed's been on the field.
Well, the last 3 weeks in these wins, he's been consistent. Whereas early on, he was on the field, off the field. He hasn't missed the game, but he wasn't on the field for all the plays. Now
Paul Richardson's
it
been
seems
out.
like he's
Yeah.
getting more opportunity. Paul Richardson making plays as well. So you look at the position they're in defensively. Defense travels. This is something that you can hold on to. And I think this locker room is gelling instead of people looking at each other and about to explode and fall apart. So where this offense or this team is on the up, they're climbing up. You know, for us, we got to 6-2, played Pittsburgh, and it was downhill from there. This team has an opportunity to do something special because I think everyone kind of check personalities, egos. The coach is putting people in position to win, which we asked for earlier. Then you look at the leadership, and it's coming from the young guys. The older guys haven't even really played up to par to this point. I mean, they've given you something, but you expect the Kerrigan, Preston Smith to have bigger years up to this point. So you look at the young guys, Ionitis, Allen Payne, who's been playing outstanding, along with DJ Swearinger. Josh Norman has elevated his game, his level of play in recent weeks. Then you look at the linebacking core getting downhill. They're stopping the best player. They're taking your best option away. And team, they're starting to believe. They're 5-2, and they're starting to believe in themselves. And then you go out and you make a great addition this week that we're going to get to in HaHa Clinton-Dix. So when you look at this team, I think they're trending upward.
Does it matter how they're winning, though, at all?
Yeah, so I think that's really the whole question, right? Everyone kind of calls this unsustainable. This eventually will crack. The offense has to eventually get it going because they're facing more potent offenses, and especially even look at the Falcons this week. I mean, they are a big passing attack. Or is it going to be a shootout? But I look back to the Packers game. That was the question that everyone had too. Aaron Rodgers, are you going to be able to keep up with him? Well, the time of possession, I think the Redskins are top of the league, second in the league in time of possession. That certainly helps keep quarterbacks off the field. And you keep giving your defense rest. You keep letting them get on the field when they're fully ready to go. I think that works just as well.
Well, what's so sustainable is, again, defense travels. When you look at this team, they're winning ugly. This is the time of year that you're going to have to win ugly. So we're 7 games in, and we've been playing win ugly football the entire time. That's ball control, being able to establish a run, and let your defense go out and carry your team. Most teams are going to have to adjust from the aerial assault and throwing the ball around to the nasty part of the season where it starts to get cold, the ball starts to get slippery, it's going to get windy, you're going to have weather games, so you're not going to be able to fling the ball around as you've been doing in the finer part of the season. So whereas we're 7 games in to playing weather football, you know, this is, as Coach Gibbs would have called it, Redskins football, and you're about to be 7 games in where other teams are starting to adjust and learn how to win nasty games. We're 5-2 and we've been winning games nasty the entire season. So I think that's on our side, because if we don't develop a passing game, it's getting the time of the year you're going to have to rely heavy on run. You're going to get CT back, get him involved in the mix. So you're going to be run heavy, you're going to be short passes, and you got to go out and play great defense. And I think that's already our formula to win games.
By the way, so you mentioned HaHa Clinton-Dix, adding to this defense. Another Clinton in town.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So when you bring HaHa, so you look at the trades in the addition of HaHa to a secondary 1 and 2, or your safeties now, and 2 years ago, you're like, we need secondary, we need safeties. Monte Nicholson got an opportunity, didn't really capitalize and give you everything that the team wanted, but the addition of HaHa along with DJ, I mean, you're full of personality. You're full of talent.
They've already got the chemistry.
Yeah, they have the chemistry. You're 1 and 2 rated in the NFL. Now on the defense that's already playing really good. So now you add him to the addition. Hopefully Dunning comes back healthy. I'm not sure what's going on with Dunning, but hopefully he comes back healthy. Then you really have a defense to put on the field that can contend and be a top 5 defense at the end of the season.
So I got you, right? Defense travels, and we talked about it early in our run in terms of the podcast when we first got going about how defense wins championships and such. But I guess for me, I'm just concerned that eventually, even though the weather's going to change and all that is true, that the offensive, it's not like a high-powered offense. I mean, if AP doesn't go for 90, like at least 90, I just feel like at some point the offense is going
Alex
to be a
Smith is going to have to
problem.
step up and get this.
Even though,
offense
and I
going.
looked at the rest of the schedule, I didn't realize that. I mean, they got to play the Eagles twice still. But other than that.
Well, the thing about divisional games are they're divisional games. They could go either way. Alex Smith is not going to be, you don't have to expect Alex Smith to go out and throw for 400 yards as you did with Kirk. Kirk needed to throw for 400 yards for this team to win. Alex Smith doesn't. Alex Smith is playing a safe game, and you're allowing special teams to contribute. Tressway is flipping the field. Defense is holding opponents and stopping guys. So you don't need a lot out of Alex Smith. You would love to see him get to 300 yards a game and a touchdown or two, but you're getting everyone involved. So since everything is underneath, you look at Jordan Reed, you look at Jameson Crowder, you look at Doxson and P. Rich. If those guys all can come out and give you 40 to 70 yards, along with AP and CT giving you 60 to 70 yards, you have a successful offensive day. So this is not an offense that's rely heavy on one player, as Kirk had to carry this offense over the years. And it was
didn't have a running game though.
Yeah,
So I was gonna say,
but all of a sudden you do, and you're playing ball control, and you're able to dump underneath and move the chains. And when you can't move the chains, you believe in your special teams enough. Coach Kotwika is doing a great job. You believe in your special teams enough. You punt the ball, and you let them start over. As we're gonna punt the ball and let Jake start over right now.
I did say Jay got to pay the bills while you were gone.
We got to pay the bills.
Make sure you get that.
Guys, as we celebrate another Redskins season, the Virginia Lottery hopes that you'll join them in celebrating their own 30th birthday. Because every time you buy a lottery ticket, you're supporting another team, Virginia Public Schools. Since 1988, the Virginia Lottery has raised over $9 billion for education, a victory they couldn't have achieved without their loyal players. So on behalf of the Virginia Lottery, thank you, Virginia, for making their 30th season a winner. To help kick off their 30th birthday, the lottery is recognizing extraordinary Virginia Public School graduates through their Made in Virginia program. If you know a Virginia graduate you'd like to recognize as outstanding in their career or community, nominate them for the Made in Virginia Award. Winners will get money to award to the Virginia Public School of their choice. The entry period had already ended, but for more details, go to madeinvirginia.com.
Welcome back to 26 Minutes. This week we're talking about the Redskins, their offense. We're talking about the trades that went down that made the NFC East a lot stronger. Some coaches already fired, 2 in one city. That's coming up on 26 Minutes. So right now, NFC East got better. And you hate to say that, but Philly just went out and added a great receiver and going to trade for Golden Tate for a third rounder. The Cowboys a couple weeks ago traded for Amari Cooper. You bring in 2 young guys, 2 talented guys into the NFC East. How do you see this playing out?
Well, it didn't kind of feel like you have Cowboys and Eagles go out and get an offense, go get wide receivers. And it's almost like the Redskins had this perfect direct response. All right, we're going to add a safety. We're going to get stronger on defense and almost build up their strengths in some ways. I mean, I think the Eagles' offense has been kind of up and down so far this season. They kind of started to get on track against the Jaguars in London, but even then it's
Golden Tate to the Eagles' defense.
That's
totally different.
It's funny you mentioned that joke, though, Jake, because I kind of thought that this team would get a receiver. Sort of, kind of. Somewhere in my, I was like, maybe that'll help Alex Smith and like just the offense just become more.
Well, that's
consistent.
More options,
so,
more consistent.
you know what? When I seen the guys that were available, everyone was like, oh, Pierre and D-Jack and Demarius Thomas. And I seen Golden Tate was available. And the only thing that I could think of was this team needs a playmaker. Pierre, great for this organization. D-Jack, you got to get him the ball downfield, which we don't really do. Demarius, possession receiver, not really a big play guy. Golden Tate is the one guy who can catch a 5-yard slant or out route and turn it up the sideline and go 70 yards. So I thought, wow, that would be a great addition if the Skins could figure out a way to add Golden Tate to the receivers that we already have. Golden Tate, Paul Richardson played together in Seattle. Hey, they were a great combination in Seattle. Teamed back up in Washington would have been great. And all of a sudden, he goes to the Eagles.
Yeah, then we go defense.
So then I guess if Tate's on the Redskins, then what happens in terms of? I mean, Josh Doxson's starting to come into himself a little bit.
He's starting. You still allow Josh Doxson time. You really didn't have to remove a receiver because you've been banged up. Instead of bringing a guy back from IR, hey, you got Golden Tate, a guy on the field that can. He's a one. He's a true number one, and you allow Doxson and Crowder to still play their role. Paul Richardson, opposite side. This team used a lot of packages. So it's no like, oh, Golden Tate can stay on the field for everything. He blocks, he catches, he's downfield, he's short field, he's possession. This is a guy that I feel like is missing. The same way you added AP to the running backs room, and all of a sudden everybody stepped their game up.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the addition of Golden Tate. Everyone elevates their game.
So they don't go in the offensive route. Does that then mean we trust Alex Smith to work this out? We trust our receivers to rise to the occasion the rest of the way? Like, what statement does that make that we go defense?
Well, as Jake said, I think Josh Doxson is starting to get confidence. They're showing confidence. They're getting them involved early. Of course, you got Reed and Davis underneath. That's always consistent. So they're starting to get more balls, more targets, more action. Paul Richardson downfield been making great adjustments. It's just a matter of Alex having the accuracy and taking a shot. And then
that one
Crowder
play
got
too.
to
You
come
look
back.
at that deep pass play that he just kind of sailed way to the left there. I mean, that Paul Richardson's open.
Yeah,
At certain
could've
points,
been a huge
I do
play.
think it's just a matter of, okay, at some point Alex has just got to be a little more accurate with the ball, and then those big plays we start to realize, okay, this offense can produce like we think it can. I mean, Jordan Reed is stayed healthy for the entire season so far, knock on wood, and
That's exciting.
that is the playmaker I think the Redskins haven't really been able to fully use to his capabilities.
Well, I think it's coming. When you look at Jordan Reed, I think even his confidence and his growth, when he takes a shot, he normally, one shot, he was coming off the field. Now, he takes those shots, he jump up, and it's like, come back to me, he's ready. So they're finding a way to get him the ball. I think he had 10 targets a couple weeks ago. All of a sudden, you're targeting him, you're getting him the ball. Although it hasn't produced huge numbers, you're making him a target, and you're finding him.
Can I just mention, because I just got back from the HaHa Clinton-Dix press conference, and I asked him about just the fan base. You know, what's it like coming into a fan base? Because the Packers have played the Redskins at FedEx Field for like 3 or 4 of the last 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. So I said, what is it like, coming from a Green Bay, fan base to a Redskins one? He goes, well, when I'm coming to FedEx Field, I mean, it feels like home, and I really love the band. Like I would always appreciate the band. Whenever I would be in the opposing locker room, they're next door, I'd go in, peek my head in, and say hello to the band. I was not ready for that answer, but he already has some connections here.
Coming from Green Bay going to any city is an upgrade. It's definitely
Just like
an upgrade.
life.
Coming from Green Bay, you were just riding around high five. You put that pillow on your head, you would fit in great. You would become a cheesehead instantly. But when you look around the NFL, the action is going around the NFL. Basketball, Tyronn Lue gets fired, and a couple days later, Hugh Jackson get fired. Both in Cleveland, both guys out. Cleveland has to be miserable when it comes to sports.
But they're used to that, right? Like, Cleveland was a miserable sports city for a long time.
Did you see the
so far.
Indians tweeted, don't worry, Indians fans, Terry Francona will be at Fan Day in January.
That's funny.
That was the next guy that was
smart.
possibly going to go.
So this is what I wanted to get to. Do you blame LeBron for that?
No, I don't.
Well,
Because if LeBron is in
Why?
Cleveland,
I don't.
Tyronn Lue just went to NBA championships.
Yeah.
LeBron leave and you get fired. You're
But you
0-5.
can't- Like, do I blame LeBron? Like, LeBron has a responsibility to stay because
Well,
of
no.
Tyronn Lue?
Right.
LeBron doesn't have a responsibility to stay. I'm just saying, if LeBron stayed, Tyronn Lue would have a job.
you blame the fact that
0-5.
Tyronn Lue built a team around LeBron or had
Well, remember
style.
Tyronn Lue took over
I was about to
mid-season.
say David
yeah,
Blatt. Like
David Blatt was
the whole
the
coaching.
coach.
I think Tyronn Lue sort of knew this probably was a possibility. Just because LeBron is that program and LeBron's gone, so now why they have no loyalty to anybody really, other than who did they pay? Did they pay Kevin Love?
So why do they require the players to be so loyal to the organizations when, as we see, it doesn't matter about winning? You just took your team to a championship. The coach doesn't even get credit. It's like they're looking at you like, oh well, LeBron took us there. It has nothing to do with Ty Lue because you started the season 0-5.
But
J.R.
that's
Smith,
accurate
Kevin
though,
Love.
CP. That's accurate. It
So
has nothing to do with Ty
why so
Lue.
much pressure put on players to be loyal? You just seen
I think
the
we're starting to get
Broncos
past
cut
that, though.
ties with Demaryius Thomas.
And players are starting to point that out. To your point, like we heard Isaiah Thomas, with the whole thing that happened with Boston, and he's like, this is exactly why fan bases need to now understand the shift in the dynamic as players begin to control their own destiny and are like, bump this organization.
Yeah, I think we're past, especially after Kevin Durant went to Golden State. I think that almost solidified. All right, we're not going to have these discussions anymore about loyalty. Like,
pick your player
Right.
and roll with them.
I mean, DeMarcus Cousins, and you look at Houston.
Yeah,
And,
but
I mean,
when you
there's
see,
just,
I think that's killing sports. It's great for fantasy, but when you look at sports, like me growing up as a child, I was a huge fan of the Detroit Pistons. Like, I love the Bad Boys. I love their image. When you look, anytime they played the 76ers with Barkley and Mahomes, you knew it was going, Mahorn, you knew there was going to be a fight. You know, if they played the Knicks with Oakley and Patrick Ewing and Anthony Mason, there was going to be a fight. You look around the Lakers, you knew that was going to be a great game. Playing the Celtics with Larry Bird, great game. Indiana Pacers with Reggie Miller and the Davis guys, it was going to be competition. Now, there's no competition. Everybody is kind of out drinking wine the night before the game or immediately after the game.
The
You see
wine
all the
club.
superstars. Hey, the family meet up. So that makes it hard as a sports fan.
So we are more sports fan than you. You are athlete. So, but are you then saying that if you had your opportunity to team up when you was in your heyday, you wouldn't have? I mean, the NFL is a little bit of a
I
different
didn't
beast
want
than
to
NBA.
team with anyone. The only thing I wanted was another receiver. And when we got Santana, having Santana and Chris, I was completely fine. You never see me like, oh, we need to get Randy Moss. We need to go get this guy. Although I was fans of Randy Moss and T.O. and I thought they were outstanding players, I love to compete against the best players. I didn't want a stacked team. Like, I want to be the face. I want to carry a team, not in a selfish way, but I want to compete against the best. I didn't want to team up with the best. I didn't give me a quarterback that's decent, or a quarterback that's a playmaker, and give me the guys that I got, the guys that I grind with, and I'm cool with that.
That's legit. I mean, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I probably lean more towards your mentality too, but that's the way it is these days. And so you are of the belief with everybody else that like the NBA is rigged and now it's like bad for competition.
Well, what I'm of the belief is Jake, he was a Frisbee guy. It's time to throw it over to him and let him pay the bills.
I was actually a little bit. I played a little Ultimate in college.
I could tell
Just a
because
little bit.
Ultimate Frisbee is tight.
you definitely didn't play any football.
That's correct. I want to tell you a little bit about our friends at your local DC area Meineke Car Care Centers. Great place to have everything you need done to keep your car on the road. It's so important to maintain your car, and there are 19 Meineke Car Care locations in the greater Washington, D.C. area to help you do so. And now through October 31st, you can get up to a $100 Visa gift card. That's today, by the way.
Today.
Happy Halloween. When using your Meineke credit card with a purchase of $499 or more. You can see all the rules and regulations for this offer on Meineke.com. So don't get sidelined by car trouble this season. Sign up for Meineke Rewards to receive free towing to your nearest Meineke location, where their team of total car care experts can get your car back on the road. Save time by booking online at Meineke.com. Meineke, on with life.
Back on 26 Minutes, now it's time for Monica's favorite segment, Best We Saw.
Best thing we saw this week. Okay, really quickly, mine. I didn't put my usual research into this, but I'm going to go back to Shaquem Griffin because I think that what he's doing for kids that suffer with the same, well, I don't know, suffer, but kids that may have lost a limb or don't quite look like everybody else is incredible. Who tweeted out this week? But there was a young man, the little boy had to be like 5 or 6 on the sideline in his jersey, same condition, waving, like, just in awe of the fact that somebody that has the same thing he has is in the NFL.
We got a hero.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
absolutely.
love Griffin, and I love the fact
I
that
just
the
love it.
NFL is highlighting everything he's doing. Jake?
All right, best thing I saw, New York City this weekend. Had the chance to go to a suite in Madison Square Garden and see Billy Joel live.
You living, Jake. You living.
Look, I didn't know that was happening until a few days before. I was very glad it did. I think it was like his 60th consecutive sellout at Madison Square Garden,
Wow.
and it was pretty amazing.
You know, my
pretty
best
crazy.
memory of Billy Joel is the Ringer. When the guy in the Ringer performs Billy Joel, that was outstanding. So the best thing I saw is two things that I would say. I would stay in New York, and I would say I'm becoming a huge fan of 50 Cent. And 50 Cent trolls everyone. Like, he has no chill at all. When I say no chill, 50 Cent is actually annihilating anyone that comes in. He just demolished Ja Rule by buying 200 front row tickets to his show, so the show would be empty. Then he turns around, Busta Rhymes is on stage, celebrate and collapse and fall off.
Was he
And
okay?
50 turns and say, Busta, I'm sure Busta is going to say someone pushed him. And it's just Busta standing by himself, and he falls over. So that was hilarious. But the best thing I actually saw, so the story that I was beginning to tell you all is I went shopping while in Denmark, and I went to the Hermes store, and I flew back from Frankfurt. Chris Cooley would say, what would you say, Chris Cooley? How do you
The cool kids say Herms.
Okay, I went to the Hermes store, but the Hermes store, and I left my bag on the plane. I left everything I purchased on the plane. And I called American Airlines, I've called Lost and Found, I called everywhere to retrieve this bag. I talked to American Airlines about 4 or 5 times, and they was like, well, it's no bag tag because it was still in the bag that I purchased it in. Yesterday, Lost and Found called me, and they sent my bag. So American Airlines is my favorite airlines for a reason. I guess my priority status actually did something good.
We might need to have
Wow.
that American Airlines recommend.
Right,
Yeah,
American
you
Airlines
definitely have
sponsorship.
to. So
That's a good story, CP. You
shout
lucked
out,
up.
shout out to American Airlines, Lost and Found in Philadelphia. That was the crazy thing
Oh,
about it.
I hate that airport.
In Philadelphia, Lost and Found. Shout out to you all if you're listening.
That's nice. Aw.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Time for Q&A with Clinton. Next question.
Next question.
Next question.
That's the way it is.
Next question.
Next question.
It's a legitimate question.
Next question.
Next question.
As Kelly comes on to 26 Minutes to take over, it's time for Ask CP. Never mind Monica, she's just filming away because she's always going live on her IG. She's one of these millennial kids. Kelly, this
do me
is your
like that.
show. Take over.
Hey, girl.
All right, hey. So hashtag Ask CP. We're gonna take some from last week since you weren't here, so give these guys another chance. JMO721 wants to know what needs to improve for this team going forward.
I think the consistency. You have to score points offensively. You can't really be kicking 50-yard plus field goals. You got to get rid of the penalties. That's really what it is. The penalties have been drive stoppers for us. We haven't been able to recover. So alleviate the penalties.
Gotcha. Joshua B1000 wants to know what do the Redskins have to do to be playoff contenders?
Keep winning. Keep winning. And you have to win. You're not going to have – we have to accept that we're not going to have those blowout games, those 45 to 42 to 3 games. We're not. We're going to have to win ugly. And you just have to sustain and continue to believe. And if that's your style of football, accept it.
If you say so.
Monica doesn't want to accept
Be
it.
careful what you ask for, man.
mean,
When
okay.
we start slinging the ball around and get turnovers,
No.
then you're going to be
I'm
mad
with you
about
on
that.
I'm with you on winning ugly, but like what in your mind the rest of the way, like over the next 4 games, like if you had to call them. Falcons at home, you go to the Bucks. Texans at home, Cowboys on the road.
Well, the Falcons and Bucks both have horrible defenses, so you're going to have to play ball control because both of those teams can light up the scoreboard, especially with Fitzpatrick back in Tampa, Matt Ryan in Atlanta. So both of those teams, you're going to play ball control. Houston defense is all of a sudden looking like Houston defense that we expected them to see. They just added Demaryius Thomas, so their offense is even going to grow, although they lost Will Fuller. So that's going to be a tough game. You know there's going to be a tough game. You just got to come out and find a way to win it. So you look at 2 out of the next 3 games, you're not going to be able to run the ball downhill against Houston in that front 7 that they have. So the other 2 games, you got to play ball control.
Okay.
So this is something we kind of touched on last week, but do you think that we're starting to get into a groove?
Identity.
I think you're starting to develop an identity. Okay. You can't get into a groove if you're throwing for 220 yards offensively. That's not really a groove, but you're starting to develop an identity that you can win with. And that's if AP has 100 yards rushing and this defense continues to play the way that they're playing, the front 7 control the game for us defensively, where they're stopping the running game and making teams one-dimensional, then you can win that way.
Got it.
Okay, we're going to see.
Yeah, we'll see. So we get a lot of questions about people that they want to know about you. So we're going to kind of switch gears here. So Melissa_Bautista wants to know, what is your all-time favorite memory playing for the Redskins?
My all-time favorite memory, definitely carrying the flag out. When it was a tragic moment, but for my teammates, for the organization, for Sean's family to ask that I run out of the tunnel with the flag was big. It was bigger than any run, catch, block, or win that we had. So that would definitely be my favorite moment.
Wow.
Is there a second moment, like on the field? Because that time you told us about grabbing somebody because you was about to fall, and I was like, how do you even do that?
They held you up.
So a second favorite moment is actually the New York Giants game when I depleted Kiwanuka. Prior to that, the play prior to that, I think someone, maybe Antonio Pierce, attempted to help me up after tackling me, and he stuck his hand out, and Kiwanuka kind of like shot his hand down, like slapped AP's hand, like, don't help him up, bleep, bleep, and I looked like, what? And it kind of sparked a argument. In the next play, they called a protection to Chris Samuel's side, and I told Chris, like, stay inside. I was like, stay inside. I'm going to bleep him up. And Chris set, and I went full speed ahead to deplete Kiwanuka, and I stood over him like that was one of the best moments because he looked up like, and you could tell he wanted no smoke, he wanted no trouble. It was just like, where did you come from? And, he's looking up and his hand's still stuck. No one came over to help him.
That's a good moment.
That's
for
right.
Sure.
That was a great
Took
moment.
care of business, especially for your teammate. Soldier Every Day asks, what was the one run where you felt like they won't catch me?
Tampa Bay, first carry. When everything, the sea just parted, it was probably the biggest running lane I had. And I thought, hey, this is how it's going to be. And unknown to me, those lanes got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. But to see that, first carry, fresh off of a trade to everything open up, it was off to the races. And I knew no one was going to catch me.
Yeah. Tried to ask
beginning
Monica
of something good. I had no
that
idea.
question last
Then
week.
we try to spin it to relationships because that's your favorite thing to start talking about inadvertently.
You know what? Someone just you speak of relationships, and me always putting relationships to football. Smoot and I did a segment, and someone tweeted in, Smoot only talks about relationships in football. So I'm not the only one with this issue as a former player. All right? I'm not the only one who can relate relationships to football.
To your credit, though, one of my favorite conversations we've had outside of football was your parenting advice and parenting an athlete. That was a pretty dope conversation, too. And that's a relationship in a way. It's like it's a parent relationship. I'll give you that credit. Otherwise,
goes back to how sports is all about memories and relationships and those moments. All right, another question by OXOKB. During your career, who was a player you always enjoyed watching?
Player I always enjoyed watching, Fred Taylor. Fred Taylor was one of the most underrated, amazing players that I've ever seen. He was electrifying, and this is from college. Growing up in Gainesville, Florida, watching him as a Gator, to becoming an NFL running back, like looking up to someone, like wanting to model your game or saying, who do I see the similarities in? It was always Fred T. And Fred T, if you go and you put in Fred Taylor highlight tape when I'm talking about some amazing runs, and our guest today had an opportunity to be in the AFC East, so he's seen Freddie T as well. Randall L. will join the show in overtime, so stay tuned to that. But Freddie T, that was a bad man. Always one of my favorite players, one of the most electrifying.
That's awesome. Monica, did you have someone that you looked up to?
Playing?
Yeah, when you were younger.
Akeem Olajuwon, that was the only person
I actually
like
was a huge Cynthia Cooper fan back in the day. The Houston Comets, Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson, and Kim Perot, God rest her soul. That was like my squad that I watched growing up playing ball.
Well, although we want to give you more, you got to tune in to Overtime. Catch Randall L. That's it for 26 minutes. Episode 10 in the books. Check. Welcome to 26 minutes Overtime. We got Antoine Randall L. back in the building. Randall L., I want to discuss, both of us have been in this situation. I went from Denver to D.C. You went from Pittsburgh to D.C. Yep. Both of us have been part of organizations that you felt like I've done everything I possibly could to deserve an opportunity to stay here, but ended your career elsewhere. For you, when you look at that, when you look around the league and you see players, you think back to Sherman going from Seattle to San Fran, and you look at Dez being outed in Dallas and still not having an opportunity. Go back to your Steelers with Le'Veon Bell's situation. Some of these guys is moving around. Demarius Thomas just moved this week from Denver to Houston. When you look at these situations, what comes to mind?
It's those situations. It's teams trying to win, and that's not the loyalty that you would expect, especially after you've been in the place for so long. It just isn't there like it used to be. And when I say that, I mean you speak about the different things that happened here recently, even the trades this week. You would think those guys would remain where they are, but from a team's perspective, they trying to get the next best thing, if you will, or create some money, some salary cap, whatever it is. It always seems like, whatever the player wants to do, it becomes a back seat, so to speak, because they can't really get what they want to do. But at the same time, you got players on the other end, when they can leave, they can leave because it's free agency, but they can't leave before that because they're tied to a contract and the team won't give them the money they need to. So it's a loyalty issue, no question.
So you look at that situation like the change in climate. If you go to New York, Saquon comes in, that's been OBJ team. Saquon come in, you got to feed Saquon. It's like a change of guards. You look at Pittsburgh. Le'Veon left everything on the table in Pittsburgh. Great combination between him, AB, and Big Ben, and all of a sudden, Le'Veon doesn't get the money he deserved, but you're willing to pay young guys. When you look at guys that's getting traded, Golden Tate for a third rounder, I would have given up my 3 third rounders for the next 3 years for Golden Tate. But you look at his value on the market, and it's like, well, he goes for a third rounder, or Demarius Thomas goes for a fourth rounder. It just seems like these guys would require more. It would be a no-brainer to me over a pick, a proven player over a pick where picks don't pan out anyway. You look at all of these teams. You go 7 rounds, and teams might have 1 or 2 players that come out of their draft class that actually go on to a Pro Bowl, if that. And you're worried about a 3rd or 4th round pick for these guys?
Well, see, that's the thing. I think a lot of teams, they bring guys in, and at some point they've already decided that, this is probably going to be the guy, or that we're going to, if they're not flourished or doing whatever we need them to do about year 4, 3 or 4, whatever their contract is, we're going to trade them, get what we can for them, and really cut our losses and move on from a salary cap standpoint or whatever. But then you got. But if you look at the teams who bring guys in and kind of groom them up and keep them, it seems like those are teams that are really successful. Like, I don't know about like New England. New England don't bring a whole lot of guys in. The Steelers, they don't bring a whole lot of guys in. Just looking at those 2 teams, and they're always in the hunt, if you will, with playing. It seemed like that would be ideal, to bring the guys in, groom them. Yeah, you might bring in 1 or 2 pieces from here and there to try to better your squad, but it just seems like that's the norm now. 3 or 4 years, or even sometimes earlier than that, trade them. We don't need them. Let's try to get another better body, younger body in that position.
So to switch positions, you played basketball at Indiana. You were famous for a three-point hook shot that no one has ever seen since.
I did play 2 years of basketball with Coach Bobby Knight. That's right.
That three-point hook shot, no one has seen it since. Bobby Knight has been exiled from basketball due to allowing you to play. But when you look at basketball, and teams don't realize, fans don't realize chemistry of teams. You look at the Houston Rockets, you expect them to compete. All of a sudden they lose Trevor Ariza. You bring in Carmelo Anthony, but that's a
totally
huge
player.
hit. You look at LeBron leaving Cleveland, going to LA, all of a sudden Ty Lue gets fired 5 games in. You know, you look at the landscape and the chemistry change in locker rooms. How important is that?
The chemistry is very important. And you talk about this idea with LeBron leaving, going to LA, and then Tyrone Lue out. I mean, that was the writing on the wall. Like if they weren't bringing in somebody else, not that was like LeBron, or 2 or 3 other guys to really give him a shot.
Yeah, but how could you find someone like LeBron?
But that's what I'm not saying finding like LeBron, but that's what I'm saying. Somebody close to that caliber, or bring in 2 or 3 other guys. I mean, you look at what the Celtics doing. They're building with their team. I mean, yeah, they got Kyrie, and even with him out
because the Celtics
last year,
were able to steal for Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. You got everything from Brooklyn.
I'm talking about right now, what they have right now. They've kind of built over time. When you have a guy like LeBron James, when he leaves, you're not filling that void. If you can't go out and find two or three guys to fill that one player slot, you're not gonna go out and find another guy to fill it. So the writing on the wall, I think, for Tyronn Lue was already there. It was just a matter of time. I couldn't see him if he didn't have a ace guy, go-to guy to be the leader of that team, for them to come out and be 6-0 or 5-0 or 3-3 from that matter, without filling that void. And you see that, and you talk about chemistry. You're not getting that chemistry that you need when LeBron leaves and you bring in guys who are not close to what he is.
So when you say that, right, it's guys that fiend for the opportunity of becoming a man. When they're playing with LeBron, it's like, I want more responsibility put on me. All of a sudden, LeBron leaves. You look at Rodney Hood, J.R. Smith, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, the young kid they bring in from Alabama. Like, here's your opportunity to become a household name. Same thing happened. LeBron left, going to Miami. They go out and get Kyrie. All of a sudden, you go out, you get a point guard. You get guys who want this situation. When LeBron is here as a safety net, then all of a sudden you're forced into the forefront and to be the face of an organization, and you can't deliver.
And you got guys who not like that. Guys who need to be on the coattails, so to speak, or who need to be the follower and be led by, another great name, so to speak. If you look at what LeBron did at different places he went, when he was in Miami, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, they could go other places and do that. That was the duplicate of the Celtics, if you will, having the 3 players that can really, 3 all-stars on your starting lineup. But you look at his starting lineup with Cleveland, I think Kevin Love was an all-star.
J.R. Smith.
But J.R. Smith, he up and he down. He up and he down. He wasn't. They really didn't have anybody that was really consistent. So around him, they put guys that would, can maybe knock down a shot, because LeBron's penetrating, kicking it out. They didn't have guys that was just going to take over the game for them. Kevin Love, maybe sometimes, but that wasn't always the case.
So not to harp on LeBron's situation, but I would love to hear your take on dominant personalities. LeBron, people say it's hard to play with LeBron. It's hard to play with Russell Westbrook. Some of my teammates say it was hard to play with me. But I think every one of those guys, when you look at, and the list goes on, a lot of guys, you look at Dez Bryant, you look at so many guys that people say, well, it's hard to play with this guy because of this. And I think it all boils down to, it's hard to play with that guy because he has a winning attitude. He's going to require the most out of you. His preparation, especially for me, my preparation was totally different from anyone else's. But I promise you, I was in better shape. When it came to knowing the game, when it came to mental mistakes or any of that, that wasn't involved in my game. So when you look at these guys, it's hard to play with. How do you say, like, well, I want to team up with him, or I don't want to team up with him?
Right, again, LeBron James, when he was in Miami, you didn't hear Chris Bosh saying that. You didn't hear Dwayne Wade saying that. So it's about guys stepping up really, and taking that game to another level, because that's what it's about. When you got a guy like that, he's going to demand it out of you, but you should already be demanding it out of yourself.
So Russell Westbrook.
Same thing. Like, I mean, if I'm going there not to, really be led by him, but I'm going there to lift our team with him. I'm gonna be part of that. So that's the same thing. If you got guys who just, it might be hard to play for them, and if it's hard to play for them, you got to kind of look at yourself and say, well, wait a minute, am I doing my part? Am I where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there? Am I making sure I'm in shape? Do I know the game like this other guy? Like, not that I would compare myself to those guys, but I would make sure my game is tight. So it can't be, we weren't successful because I was there with this other guy. I'm just like the other guy. He might have some other talent, but I'm gonna get my work done too.
All right, so me.
What about it?
How was it playing with me?
It was good playing with you. You talk about personality. Your personality was very different from anybody else. We didn't have to worry about Clinton getting his work done, getting the blocks and all that type of stuff. You had a different personality. You was gonna swag out there, strap it up and go, and that was cool. But you did what you had to do. Now, you can't expect everybody to come out, warm up a certain way, and be ready to go from that standpoint. But when it came to game time, practice, getting it in, you did your part. I mean, especially when it come to pass blocking, the same arm, same shoulder type stuff. So it was stuff we didn't have to worry about that from you. But when you get guys who have a personality and they can go get it, I mean, that's what you want. And I think you look back on our teams that we had, I think we had so many personalities, and not being able to bring it together. You look at the Warriors, so many personalities. They are bringing it together. They do understand one common goal, that type deal. And what they're doing with the Warriors is unheard of, to have that many 5 All-Stars on the team, or at least 4 on the starting lineup. It's hard to see that working with all the different personalities, but it's working because it's one common goal. You can shoot threes, I don't care. You can score 40, you can win an MVP. I'm not going to be upset. Like, I thought for sure it was going to be an issue when Kevin Durant got the MVP for the second time in a row, and Curry played pretty well the last couple games to get it and didn't get it, but you hadn't heard anything out of that camp.
Speaking of 4 All-Stars, Monica, Jake, Kelly, Randall L. joining Overtime. That's it for us this week. Join us for episode 11 next week. We'll be right here.
Are uninvited pests ruining your plans? Let PMSI, the pest control partner of the Washington Redskins, handle it for you. Call today for your free inspection, and they'll work around your schedule to provide you the best solution possible to defend your home territory against pests of all kinds, including mold. Visit mypmsi.com for the game plan to control the pests on your home turf. That's mypmsi.com.
This is Rick Goslin with the Talk of Fame Network. This NFL season, FanDuel has more ways to win than ever before. New Beat the Score contests pay out everyone who hits a certain score. Now it's easy to find your friends and challenge them to play head-to-head fantasy contests for cash or bragging rights. New players, try FanDuel today and get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Rick.
New users only. Bonus not available for withdrawal. State and age restrictions apply. For eligibility rules, terms, and conditions, go to FanDuel.com.
Control the pests on your home turf. That's mypmsi.com.
This is Rick Goslin with the Talk of Fame Network. This NFL season, FanDuel has more ways to win than ever before. New Beat the Score contests pay out everyone who hits a certain score. Now it's easy to find your friends and challenge them to play head-to-head fantasy contests for cash or bragging rights. New players, try FanDuel today and get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit.